Hello guys and welcome back to Makeup FOMO. Today I'm going to be sharing with you my favorite products from 2017. I wanted to challenge myself and do something a little bit different than what I've been seeing in these 2017 favorites videos and only pick literally one product for each product type. Some people have been showing their favorite foundations of 2017 and there's two or three. And I feel like that's just too easy to just pick my favorite few. So I wanted to really challenge myself, only show you one of each type of product. The thing for me, and probably for a lot of you, is I have so much makeup that I don't really use a ton of it up or hit pan on it a lot of times because I'm just constantly cycling through so many different types of everything that I don't really go through it a lot. So basically a lot of these items might not be used up or I might not have hit pan, but they were still some of my favorite products of the year and some of my favorite products just in general. So I hope that you guys are excited. I would love to hear what some of your guys' favorites are, or if any of yours show up in my favorites too. That'd be so cool. And if you guys want to see what my favorites were for last year in 2017, then just keep watching and let's get started. So I don't want this video to be crazy long or anything, so I'm just going to kind of briefly talk about each item, and then if you have any additional questions, of course I'd be happy to answer them in the comments, so just let me know. The first thing I have to share is not actually makeup, but it's the only skincare item that I am religiously dedicated to and that I use all the time and that I would recommend. And it's the Garnier Skin Active Moisture Rescue Refreshing Gel Cream. It's a water-based, it's like a gel. It's really not a lotion. And I just love this. This is my second jar of it. So that's one way that you know that I love it. It's literally the only moisturizer that I use because it doesn't irritate my skin. I don't break out from it. It doesn't burn my eyes if I put it under my eyes, and it just works really well. It lasts a long time. You can get it at the drugstore, and I highly recommend if you're in the market for a drugstore moisturizer. It's good for sensitive skin. It provides enough hydration and it feels so refreshing on the skin because it's kind of cooling. So this is by far my favorite moisturizer ever, but especially from 2017. So to be honest, I just completely skipped primer because I really don't use primer on a daily basis. I would love to, but I just never think about it, never feel a need to, and I have quite a few, and all the ones I've tried just don't do anything that stands out to me where I'm I need that on my face first before I move on to my next step. So I'm just gonna skip that category altogether. If you guys have some holy grail primers that you just think I can't live without, let me know because I'm open to falling in love with one. I just haven't yet. So I'm gonna skip right to foundation. My favorite of all time, literally ever, that I use a ton, went through a few bottles of this year, is the Rimmel Lasting Finish 25-Hour Foundation. This is obviously drugstore, really affordable, $6 maybe. It comes in quite a few shades. I have quite a few shades of it for basically all year round, whatever shade I am. The one I have here is Classic Ivory. This is just an all-around awesome foundation. It's full coverage. You can apply it with a brush or a sponge. It's gonna look good. It really does last all day, and it's so affordable that if you need to constantly repurchase, it's really not a problem. I'm actually going to be wearing this foundation for my wedding. I've decided, which is coming up in May, but I just absolutely love this foundation. I think it would work for everybody. I have normal to dry skin, and it just looks flawless, and it lasts all day, and I have nothing bad to say about this product. This is my favorite foundation of all time. And I didn't really want to get into tools too much in this video because that could just make this video insanely long if I told you every single brush and sponge that I love for what function. But two tools that I want to mention that I'm just going to throw in now. One is the Morphe sponge. They have a couple different ones, but the one that kind of is, this is filthy, so I used it today, so I apologize. But the one that has the slanted angles, this is so soft to rub, and it's not crazy dense either, and it looks really dirty just because of the foundation I was using was really thick, but this, I swear, does not soak up any product. If you use a little bit of a less thick foundation and pat it all over your skin, it's still gonna look like this side. It's gonna look completely red. It doesn't soak up the product. It leaves whatever coverage your foundation has. It maintains it. It doesn't shear it out. It soak it up, and it's so soft. It's so affordable. I think this is also $6 or $7, and this is at Ulta now, which is awesome because it's very accessible. But this is my favorite sponge that I've used in 2017. I tried so many, and there are definitely some really, really close runner-ups, but this is definitely what I would say was my number one sponge for the year. And then I'm just gonna mention this tool super quick just because we're talking about it. It's the Tweezerman. I don't know what specific type of tweezer this is, but as I'm sure you have gone through like a million tweezers in my life, and they always just end up like not being tight enough. They don't line up right, or they're just hard to work with. And yes, Tweezerman tweezers are a little bit more pricey than your average tweezers, but they're worth every penny because now I'm not gonna have to constantly replenish my tweezer supply. It's the only tweezers that I have because it works and I'm never gonna need to replace it. So they're definitely worth the money because the quality is there. Okay, so we're going to keep chugging along with face products, and my number one concealer, I have to say, is the NYX HD concealers. I just have 2 shades here, but I have like 3 more in my collection. I have it for every single shade that I possibly am throughout the year because this is just the best concealer that money can buy. Seriously, I've tried Shape Tape. I have a ton of other concealers, and I love a lot of other concealers, but like these, when I run out of a certain shade, I just go get it right away. Like I need to always have every shade in this because this is like my go-to. When I like am just rushing around and just grab for concealer, these are the ones that I pick up. They have an incredible shade range. They're so pigmented and full coverage, but they blend out really well. They never look dry, and you just literally cannot go wrong with these, especially with the price point. And they're at Ulta, they're at Target. You can find them everywhere. So this is the best of the best when it comes to concealers. For powders, I do have 2 to mention, but that's only because each of them are for like a different function. So I felt like it was fair to pick out 2 powders because one I only use for under the eyes, one I only use for the face. The one that I use for my face that I'm absolutely in love with, and this one you can actually tell how much I love it, it's the CoverGirl Ready Set Gorgeous powder. This is definitely not highly talked about. I think this is definitely an underrated powder. You can see mine like has quite a dent in it. Like I'm probably gonna hit pan on this really soon. These do run a little bit dark, but this is just the most like creamiest. It's so weird. It's weird to describe a powder that way, I feel like, but it's just like, it's creamy. It looks so good on the skin. It adds a little bit of coverage, which is why I like using like actual face powders, like with a color rather than a like translucent powder for the face, because it adds coverage. This is like such an underrated line. I love the foundation of this too. It's not like my top favorite, but I love the foundation, and I've gone through at least 1 or 2 bottles of the foundation. This is just such a good powder. It always looks good, and it's just my go-to. And then for under eye, I have to say that my favorite is the RCMA No Color powder. I know I sound just like everybody else when I say that, but this is such a good powder. I've used up quite a bit of it, and I only use this under the eyes. I like to use a translucent under my eyes or like a yellow, and then I use like a regular skin tone shade on my face. So that's why I'm mentioning this separately, but it's also perfect because you can just unscrew the top, and then I just dip my like under eye setting brush right directly in here and tap it off in here, because the packaging of this like sucks. If you were going to use this for your face, this is so messy. I don't really know how you would use it because you'd have to dump a bunch of it out, and then I don't know where you dump it into. And yeah, the packaging of this is definitely not my favorite, which is fine though because it works perfectly for under the eyes. It looks super airbrushed, doesn't make it any drier, it's good for texture, and it doesn't add any color, obviously. So it just sets, makes everything look really, really smooth, and I highly recommend it just like everybody else does. I typically do my brows right after I finish my face, so I'm going to talk about that really quick. And my like holy grail, literally almost the only product I used in 2017 for my brows was the e.l.f. Brow Pomade. Comes in this little jar. As you can see, I've used like, well, maybe you can't tell, but I literally have like maybe a quarter of this left. And I have another one that it's a different color that I have only a quarter of it left because I use it literally every single day religiously. Sometimes I switch between the darker color and the lighter color, but this is the only brow product I use. I have another one to mention that's a powder, but I mostly use this one, and I switch it up sometimes, but this is my absolute favorite. They have like 3 or 4 shades, so they have some options, and it stays in place. It's really easy to work with. It's creamy, but not too creamy. It's got a little bit of like dryness to it where it doesn't, go everywhere. Very easy to use and easy to control. And it's like $4 or something like that. I just love that I'm in love with a ton of affordable products, because then when you go through them, you don't even have to think twice about replacing it. And I have gone through these many times. They're my absolute favorite. If you're into pomades and maybe you're like tired of spending a ton of money on like the dip brow and all those kinds, just give one of these a go. You will not regret it. And even if it doesn't work out for you, like $3, so you cannot go wrong. But I did want to mention the powder that I use, because whenever I'm not using a pomade, I do use a powder, and I do feel like this is another thing where I'm mentioning two products, but they are kind of different, so I feel like that's fair. This is the Wet n Wild. This looks so beat up. Like, this has seen better days. This is the Wet n Wild, just like brow powder thingy. This, obviously, like I said, it has been used and abused. I use this for the front of my brows, this for like the second part, like the tail end. It actually comes with a brush and a little tweezer, which I don't really use much, but it's kind of handy if you need it. And as you can tell, I love this. I use this quite a bit whenever I'm not using the pomade, or if I want just like a slightly lighter look, because the pomade can be a little bit harsh, which I don't mind, but this definitely works if you're doing something really, really minimal and really natural. And they have quite a few shades. I have the shade Ash Brown, and like I said, the colors I use for different parts of my brows, and they work perfectly. And this is also like under $5, so you can't really go wrong with either one. For blush, bronzer, and highlight, I have one product for each. This one is probably going to seem really random, but this is like a hidden gem at the drugstore that I think everyone should at least check out. And it is the Ulta Baked Bronzer. I have the shade Radiance. I don't know what other shades they have. And like, I know this is so random, like an Ulta brand bronzer, but it's like a baked, so you know, it's that domed, and it's, well, mine used to be domed. I use this a ton, so now it's like just about flat. But I love how warm it is. I love that it has like the radiance to it, like the luminosity. It is just the right level of like, it's not even shimmery, but it just like has a glow to it, you know? And I just feel like a bronzy glow. Like, nothing looks more beautiful than just a nice bronzy glow. And this shade is just like universally flattering. I use it in the summer and I build it up and it's dark enough. I use it now when I'm at my fairest and I just use a light hand, and it just always looks good. Kind of like I said about the concealers, if I just need to not think about what I'm grabbing and just grab, this is what I grab for my bronzer. You can't go wrong with it. This is definitely very underrated, and I've literally never heard anyone else say a single thing about it. But if you love a nice, just like glowy bronzer, you would absolutely love this. And then for blush, this is also pretty random, something that I don't think a ton of people have talked about. But these kind of things that I'm mentioning have just been my staples. So even though they're like probably not the most popular products, they're just the products that I know I can rely on, and that's so important. The blush that I want to mention is the Wet n Wild Fergie blush in this shade what shade is this? Oh, Brush with Danger, and it's just a super, super hot pink, like, and I know this is probably, it looks a little purple on camera, but it's not purple. It's like, can you see it better there? It's like a hot, hot pink. And I just feel like I have a e.l.f. shade that's kind of similar to this, but I like this one better. I just feel like these popping pink shades, just with a light hand, of course, you don't want to go too crazy with something like this. With a light hand, these can just be so flattering. It's just like a very youthful, beautiful blush. Like I said before, if I just need to not think about what blush I'm putting on and I just want something that's going to look nice, I just throw a tiny bit of this on. I use a light hand, and I know that it's going to just look like healthy, and it's going to go with whatever look I'm doing. Probably a lot of you may not think that this kind of shade would be that shade, but this is my go-to shade. And again, this is like a $3 or $4 product, so you cannot go wrong. But just in general, these like hot pink blushes, if you haven't tried them, they might look scary, but they're going to probably look really, really good on you. So I highly suggest this kind of shade in general. And then lastly, for highlight, I did discover this closer towards the end of 2017, but when I was looking at all my highlighters, I was like, oh, I wasn't using this for the entire year, but it's by far the favorite thing that I did use in the year. Even if it wasn't my most used, it was my most favorite. It literally stole my heart. It is the Cover FX Perfect Highlighting Palette. It has this, oh gosh, it's so dirty, but it has this really reflective cover. So these are the shades. It comes with 6 highlighters, and literally all of them are stunning. Some of them are a little bit dark for me, but I can use all of these. I can still use these with a light hand, and the formula of these is just incredible. My Becca highlighters I also really love. I have a Becca highlighting palette that rivals this, but it literally just melts. I swear it's a powder, but it looks like it melts into your skin when you apply it. It just disperses on its own. It never looks like a streak. It never looks unnatural. And these aren't blinding where they're super unnatural. They just look nice. They catch the light just like you need them to. All of them are so wearable. All of them perform amazingly, and I literally can't say enough good things about this palette. It's a great value for getting 6 different highlighters in it, and there's a shade in here for everybody, or a couple shades in here for everybody. I just love palettes. I love having things in palette form rather than in like individual, if I can get that option, because you just have a ton of more options, and it's usually better bang for your buck per, you know, item or per pan. So if you're looking for some new high-end blushes, I highly suggest this one. They have it at Ulta. It's still online. I saw it earlier, so I cannot say enough good things about this. I love this. Okay, so now let's talk about eyes. I have to mention this first and foremost because I use this in literally every video, and every day that I wore makeup in 2017, 100% of the time, I used this little guy. This is the L'Oreal. You can't even see the writing on it anymore because it has all came off, but it's the L'Oreal like Smoldering Kohl Kajal eyeliner. It's just like this little chunky pencil. It normally has a better point than this when you buy it, but it is just the blackest, creamiest eyeliner. I only use it for tight lining. I don't usually wear black in my waterline in general, but it's great for tight lining because it has like a really thick like applicator area where like you can put it up there. You don't need to be too precise and just run it along your waterline. It is so black, it stays on all day. It doesn't transfer down to your bottom waterline. And like I literally just, this is probably out of all these products like my #1 product ever because I can rely on it. I use it literally every single day of my life, and I've never need to repurchase it though. I've used this every day for probably like 2 years at least, and I still have like a ton of products left, and these are like maybe like $10 or something like that. You get so much for your money, and it's just such an incredible product. It's from the drugstore, of course, and this is just the best black eyeliner that there is. So I'm like not cheating, but I do have another item for this category only because I don't use that eyeliner ever on my waterline. That's strictly a tight line eyeliner for me. For my waterline, the only thing I ever use is MAC's Costa Riche eyeliner. This is like a reddish brown shade. It's really nice for like green and hazel eyes because it just really makes those tones in your eyes pop. It's not super harsh like a black would be where it kind of closes your eyes off. The formula is just really good. The color looks so good. It stays on the waterline, doesn't wear off. You get obviously a ton of product. I don't know how or when I'm ever going to go through this entire pencil. I rarely have to sharpen it because obviously you don't use a lot, but I love the color. I love the way that it works with my eye color, and I highly recommend if you don't like black liners, this is a great alternative. And then speaking of eyeliner, my favorite liquid eyeliner of the whole year, it's pretty much the only eyeliner I use the entire year, is the Physicians Formula Eye Booster. It is so black. You've probably heard a ton of people rave about it because it's that good. The tip on it is super fine, really easy to work with. You can get a super thin line. It's great for wings. The best part about it is that it stays like juicy in the tip. Like I've used so many liquid liners that the tip just dries out so quickly. It's really tough to get a lot of product back into it. The brush tips kind of gets like all like funky and it's not straight anymore, so using it just gets impossible because it leaves like all these jagged marks. This doesn't do any of that. Because it's Physicians Formula, it's like a little bit pricier. It is so worth it. It lasts a really long time. Like it doesn't run out. I've had this one for probably like at least 6 months, maybe more. It's as good as everybody says it is. And that's also the eyeliner that I have on today. Mascara was actually a really easy one for me to pick out because I am in love with the Ulta Plush Drama Volume Mascara. This is also one that's probably kind of weird and random and another like Ulta brand, and I don't really hear a ton of people talk about the Ulta brand makeup, but I get so much of it either in like samples or just like free with purchase that I end up trying a lot of it out, and this I have repurchased because it is that good. It's like a pretty wet formula, which is my preference, but it's very good at like separating and lengthening. It's called a volume mascara, and I don't actually think that it adds a ton of volume, but it lengthens and it separates, and it's very black, and the formula is just great. It keeps a curl, it doesn't flake, it doesn't transfer, and it does almost everything I would like a mascara to do other than add volume, but I literally always layer mascaras. There's never a day that goes by where I only use one mascara. I have like 100, so I'm constantly layering them together. I'm definitely gonna be wearing this on my wedding day. I don't know if they have a waterproof version, so I'm gonna need to look into that. But this is just such an underrated mascara. It's not too expensive. It's like $10, so it's not like cheap, but it's not pricey. Very underrated, but very awesome. So as you can imagine, eyeshadow was very difficult. I have like 50 palettes, not exaggerating. So picking one was very difficult. I think a lot of people in their videos get to choose like a bunch of palettes that they love throughout the year, but I only picked one. I feel like almost everybody mentioned the Morphe and Jaclyn Hill palette for their favorites in 2017, and I do have that palette and I do really like it. And actually the palette I chose is a Morphe palette and it is a collab, but it is the Morphe Kathleen Lights collab. I don't think this didn't come out in 2017. It probably came out in like 2016, but it is still like my favorite palette like ever. Like the color selection is just so up my alley. There's just a million looks I can think of with these colors. They're just so my shades. The quality is incredible. There's such a variety in here. You have like a matte black, which is just necessary. You have some highlighting shades, a cream shade. It's an all-in-one palette. You don't need to dabble into other palettes. When you have this, you can use it for a million and one things. I feel kind of bad talking about it because it's not available anymore, but I know probably a ton of you have it because it was like such a hit when it first came out. But you can't go wrong with this palette. It's just like an eyeshadow lover's dream, and I just had to mention it. Out of all the palettes that I have, including like high-end ones, Too Faced, Anastasia, I have so many palettes, but like this one just takes the cake for me. And then I just had to mention 2 single shadows. One palette and then one type of single shadow. I feel like that's fair. And they are the L'Oreal Infallible little like pot eyeshadows. These are the 2 that I use the most, Iced Latte and Gold Imperial. These came out forever and ever and ever ago, and they were kind of a big hit when they first came out, but they do still sell them. They come in just these little pots, and they are incredible. They're like a pressed pigment, a pressed glitter. They're not like a glitter, they're like a shadow, but they're like pressed. It's kind of hard to explain. They actually, usually that one I lost it, but they come with like a little thing to like, I guess, keep it all together. I'm not sure, but these are just, I literally reach for these all the time. And I have a ton of single shadows, and I really don't use single shadows because when I have a palette, I just use the palette and I really don't like mix it up a ton. But I reach for these 2 on a weekly basis. Like I use each of these every single week without a doubt because they are just the perfect colors. This is like, a really nice champagne, and then this one's just a true gold. The pigmentation is awesome. They stay on all day. There's no fallout. And whenever I have a palette, like for example my Clay Play palette that doesn't have any shimmer in it, these are just my go-tos. I'll always just grab them rather than dipping into another palette, throw them on my lid, and I know that I'm going to rely on them. They are my go-to shadows. If you haven't tried them, I definitely suggest it. They're like a little bit pricey for one shadow, but you're never going to go through the whole thing because you only obviously need the tiniest bit, and they're so good. And then before we move on to lips, I had to mention my all-time favorite setting spray, and I used this in my last video. It is the Cover FX Illuminating Setting Spray with a little like jiggly ball in it. This is just so good. Like I said in that video, I already have a backup of this because I'm that in love with it. I'm using this for my wedding. I used it today. I'm obsessed with it. Even the packaging is actually kind of like holographic and illuminating. The mist on it is so fine. It feels so good. It leaves your skin just looking so dewy and so fresh. It's great for a pick-me-up. I use this almost every single day. This is my all-time favorite of ever, but especially the year. If you haven't tried this, I highly suggest it. You get a ton of product. You don't really need a ton of it, so it'll last you forever, and it is just amazing. Favorite setting spray ever. I had a really hard time narrowing down my favorite like lipstick of the year because 2 really stand out to me. The one that I think that I have to go with, just because I literally use these more than anything the entire year, and it is the ColourPop liquid lipsticks. Obviously, I feel like almost everyone probably is mentioning these. Everybody loves these. I specifically love the Ultra Satin formula, which I think is what most people prefer. I do have a ton of the Ultra Mattes, and I wear those. They're just not nearly as comfortable, but they have such an incredible shade range. I couldn't even tell you, probably like 20 to 30 ColourPop lippies, and like these ones, like they don't even have literally any writing on them at all. Like they don't say Ultra Satin, they don't have anything on them because they live in my purse. I'm constantly using them. They're probably all like very, very low. I have backups of some of them because they're just literally my favorite. The formula is incredible. The staying power is incredible. They have every shade under the rainbow that you could think of. They are only $6. You can obviously only get them on ColourPop.com, at least right now, but so they are my favorite. My honorable mention that I will just mention is the Wet n Wild Liquid Catsuit liquid lipsticks. I have quite a few of those. I really, really love those too. Those are a very, very close runner-up. I'm actually wearing Nudie Patootie right now. You can get them at Target. You can get them at like Walgreens and stuff. They're very easy to find, and the Wet n Wild Liquid Catsuit ones are so, so, so good. The color I'm wearing is like one of my favorites. And then for a gloss, which I feel like is fair to mention, I love the e.l.f. plumping glosses. These just recently came out, maybe a few months ago. They have quite a few shades. I have like 3 of the shades. I think this is the one I'm actually wearing it over Nudie Patootie, and it's the shade Pink Cosmo. It is like a plumping formula, so it does kind of tingle a little bit, which is not why I use it. I just really like the formula. It's not sticky, like it's very, very comfortable. It almost feels like almost silicone-y, where it just feels really smooth and very easy to wear. It lasts a decent amount of time. It's not like it's a lip gloss, so it's not going to last forever. But it feels really nice, and I love how they look. They're not shimmery. They're just creamy. They've got a tiny, tiny bit of pigmentation. They're mostly just really glossy, really comfortable. A great price. I think they're $5 or $6. I'm absolutely in love with them. They're one of the best glosses that I have. Alright guys, so that is everything for this video. This was probably pretty long, so hopefully you stuck around. Let me know if you did, and if you did, I appreciate it so much. Thank you for watching. I hope that you had an incredible 2017, and I think we are all going to have an awesome 2018. And like I said earlier, definitely let me know what some of your favorites were, or if I mentioned any of your favorites. I would love to know if we just love the same stuff. Thank you so much for being here and for watching. I really, really appreciate it. If you guys would like to subscribe, we would love, love, love to have you. We have a ton of fun here, and until my next video, I will catch you guys then. Bye guys.